Hello, welcome back to Curtis Cut. It's all or nothing, and all I ever get is nothing. Thank you very much, Metloaf. That is my theme song, Life is a Lemon, and I want my money back. I hope that everyone is having a good day. I appreciate those of you who watched this videos. I appreciate everyone who's commented. I understand that some of you are appalled by what the AI does to my face. Well, frankly, I'm kind of appalled at what God did to my face. However, I thought I would welcome you back. Curtis Cut, I am still working on Codependent No More. I'm not meaning to belabor the point, but there is really so much meat in this book for someone like myself who has had to struggle with some of these issues. Hopefully most of you haven't, but again, you may still find value in the videos because I almost guarantee someone in your life is suffering from some of these issues and can really use your understanding, your empathy, and your help, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I know I'm stumbling here. So, the chapter that I am on now is on codependent characteristics. Now, I'm just going to show you there are a ton of these characteristics. There's page after page after page. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't want to get bogged down in giving you a list. You can look them up online very likely. You can check out the book or buy the book. It's definitely worth reading, especially if you are a codependent. I've been wrestling with my own thoughts on it. That's one of the reasons why I did the stumbling and the awing just now. But the never-ending attack that we experience in life as codependents, some of it is because of the circumstances we're in, and some of it is brought on by ourselves. And the sooner that we come to recognize which portions of it are our part, the sooner we'll get those taken care of, and the better our lives will be going forward. So, I'm going to go over some, not all, but some of the characteristics of codependence, and I'll just see how this video goes. I would appreciate it if you guys would comment. Let me know if you want more about the characteristics, or if you'd rather that I just went on to the next portion, which is simply how to care for this situation. And frankly, if you are tired of me talking about this book, let me know in the comments as well. I can move on to the next one if you would rather I did that. I really want this to be something that you guys enjoy, and not just me doing this to hear myself talk about some situation. So, the most central tenet of a codependent is that they are a caretaker of some kind. They may be a caretaker for an alcoholic, for a drug addict, for someone who's disabled, although often those tend to be a little less severe, but they can have some of the same characteristics. Frankly, even in one of my situations, I have a child who is an autistic. If I'm not careful, I can find myself having some of these codependent characteristics with my interactions with him. So, after Al-Anon, in other words, the people who are married or basically are dealing with an alcoholic, the next most frequent type of person to be a codependent, amazingly enough, is someone in a caretaker profession, like a doctor, a nurse, someone who's taking care of someone in hospice, someone who's taking care of people with certain mental disorders. These people often find themselves, psychiatrists, psychologists, they find themselves often with some of these characteristics. They have to be careful not to become codependent essentially on their patients, on the people that they're taking care of. The second characteristic is most of these people, most of us suffer from low self-esteem. Many of my friends just get exasperated about how I will reject compliments. I'll pick on myself. I'll apologize constantly. I'm constantly second guessing what I'm saying. It's all part of that low self-esteem. And of course, there may be good reasons as far as, life has beat the crap out of you. But long and the short is, life is only going to be tougher with low self-esteem. It's that simple. So one way or another, we have to find a way to find our self-esteem. I remember a great friend of mine used to say that he wished that he could find himself on the island of misfit toys. And I think this sums up most of the codependents. We don't feel like we fit in this world. We wish that there was a place that we belonged. And we pretty much despair of ever finding that. The third characteristic is repression. Efforts to be Spock, to be strong and logical, and how I feel doesn't matter, and what I think doesn't matter. Obsessions are the next characteristic. We often worry about the silliest things. Now, I want to point out, I didn't get this from the book, but in my perspective, often there's a reason for this. Often that silliest thing, from the outsider's perspective, in our world has led to somebody getting drunk or beating us or accusing us of unfaithfulness or whatever kind of insane situation has happened. And so we worry about that because we're trying to avoid something that's actually not silly, at least not in our world. The next characteristic is we often tend to be controlling. We don't see it, we don't believe it when we're told it, but it often can be the truth. It's one of the things that I actually tried to take seriously when my ex and other parties would accuse me of being controlling, because I knew that that was something that I had to be leery of. And of course I found that there was a certain amount of truth to it and a certain amount was not so much. But often we can be controlling because our lives are usually out of control. And so we seek that control, and often it can be to an overbearing extent. We don't mean it necessarily to be, but it can be. The sixth characteristic is denial. It's a stage of grief, so it's kind of natural that we would be in this stage. But we stay stuck in it. I'm positive. Why are you being so negative? It's not that bad. We say things like that. Sometimes we're trying to be more positive. Sometimes we're just in denial. 7 is dependency. It's a hard part to accept because we think of ourselves as the one that is being depended on. The alcoholic's depending on me. My ex, I felt, was depending on me. How could I be dependent on them? But often we don't love ourselves. We are so desperate for any kind of love that even a love that is actually kind of sick, we'll grasp onto it because we're so desperate to get the love that we feel our parents or whomever didn't give us. Last of all, I'm going to try to keep this around 10 minutes anyway, I'm going to have poor communication. It's not the last characteristic, but it's the last one I'm going to bring up for this video. Again, I mentioned it already, but people get really tired of me constantly apologizing and second guessing myself. Simply put, it's because I'm so used to feeling like the other person thinks I'm in the wrong, and so used to essentially knowing that whatever I do or say, I'm going to be the bad guy. Now, that doesn't really work very well with normal people, but it happens to be a great thing to do when your father is an alcoholic or your mother is an autistic with some kind of thing that's causing her to beat you. So now I'm going to try to give the last minute to why is this helpful to you? Well, if you are a codependent, obviously it's helpful because it will help you better understand yourself. It'll help you get more control of the only thing you really can control in these terrible situations, which is yourself. I'm kind of rushing through this, and I apologize for that. Again, I apologize too much. But there it is. These are the 8 top characteristics of codependency. I can list more, or if people would rather, I will simply move on to the treatment of the situation. Or, again, if people are tired of hearing about this book, I can move on to the next one. I'll keep reading it because I need it. But maybe you don't. Maybe you'd rather hear about some other book. I do have a list of books that you have sent to me, but please feel free, again, in the comments, send me what you would like me to do, how you feel I can improve. I appreciate the comments from Brooke. He's one of my best friends, and I absolutely appreciate what he said. I have tried and failed to inculcate what he said. But that is it. Once again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Life is a lemon. I want my money back. Someday I'll get around to finding another truism. But for now, that's it. That's Curtis Cut. Have a great day.